deceiving you. We are not Denitra Brown.
We snuck in, yeah. We snuck in.
We snuck in. We hijacked BTB. How y'all doing today?
How
Are y'all having a
y'all doing?
magnificent Monday?
I
We
hope
are so.
so.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just go ahead. I'm
Oh,
good.
we're so happy to be here, y'all. Woo, we miss you so much. We are so
We
happy to
do.
be here.
This time has
Yes,
flown past, but we know y'all been getting the good with each.
the
When I
good,
say
good. Cause
she
I've
has
been
just been
right there
pouring out
watching.
and pouring out,
Yes.
it's just been so much growth.
And
Yeah, this has been wonderful to watch. We're excited for her. We really are, and we're even excited that she's away resting right now. She's taking a much needed break. Everybody say much, much,
much.
much needed break. And so we are just happy to love on our sister and be here to support her. So y'all gonna have to put up with us today. Y'all okay with that?
All right.
It's just us. It's just us. But we know that Nitra has been doing so much, and the word has been so good, like so good. There's no reason that you haven't been able to grow because she's giving it and she's just dissecting it and helping you to apply it. So there's nothing but growth, right? It can't be anything but growth. So we know it, we're seeing it, and we're reading it, and sometimes I have to catch the replay. But I'm still applying it, right? And I know that the growth is there. So I'm excited for your growth too. So on that note, we want you to give Nitra a shout out, right? You don't have to do it on the inbox, like on the live, but you can. But most definitely reach out to her on her inbox and just give her some love and just give her any testimonies that you may have. You know, sometimes when you are giving and you're pouring and you're pouring and you're pouring, sometimes you don't necessarily know the fruit, right? You're going to continue to do it because God has said so. And as long as God is saying to do this, you know it's touching someone. But sometimes it just goes a long way just to have someone say, hey, you helped me. This is the area that I've grown in. Hey, I was thinking this mindset, but from your teaching, I now have another mindset, right? So just like we tell our loved ones thank you, right? And when we get things, sometimes that just helps us, especially on a bad day. Nature's not having a bad day, she's resting. She's resting. But we just want y'all to shout out to her, whether it's on the live, throughout the live. I'm sure hopefully she's not watching. If you're watching nature, put the phone down. Hopefully she's not watching, but you can always, of course, inbox her as well. Okay. Had to be mama real quick.
Okay, I heard we had a little bit of echo. Is it still echoing? Can y'all let us know?
Let's see.
Okay, I have YouTube I'm looking at.
Okay. Oh, I put your YouTube up too.
Y'all, we out of practice. We was trying to be prepared and ready, but we are definitely out of practice. But we want to make sure the sound is right. So, okay, it says I think we're good now. All right, awesome.
Great. This much.
Okay,
Okay, good.
good. Thank you guys.
We working it, y'all. Thank you
We're
for your
trying to get it
patience.
together.
Amen.
We gotta do it right so she'll call us back.
We don't want a bad report.
Right.
Like, don't put them back on there. They too out of practice.
Okay, well, we are going to get right on into it. If you didn't already put in the chat your appreciation and love for Nitra, make sure that you inbox her. Make sure that you can go to btbhosts at gmail.com to email her. Well, we want to send her all her good love, and she need them flowers, y'all. Them flowers is good. She want to smell them while she can breathe them.
That's right.
Okay, we're going to get right on into tonight. So, tonight we're going to talk about safety, finding refuge in God. And so, I wanted to talk about the definition of safety, and so that we can all be on the same page as we're going into this. And so, the definition of safety is the condition of being protected, from danger, risk, or injury, or something that's unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. So, safety is really relative. It's really, we define what those conditions and that protection really looks like. Everybody kind of has their own idea. And so, we all had to kind of go into, I asked the kid to define what she meant for safety. So I'm gonna let you guys know what my definition. Um, we might. Um, I'm gonna let you know what my definition is, and then I'm gonna have you let Takia tell you guys what her definition is. But it really is a state of being. So my definition, I had to really sit with this one because I was like, okay, I really want to, let me see what it really is. And my definition, when I feel safe, when I feel secure and protected, it means that I, one, have control, and two, yeah, that's a lot of people's, right? I have control. And the second is I have the use of my ability. So basically, my ability to create relationships, to navigate people, to be creative, my intelligence, my worth ethic, all of those pieces, my ability to just do things. All of those, if I can do something and I'm in control, I'm safe. And I don't have to be in the lead. I don't have to be the leader, but I just need to know where we're going. You could be the leader. I just need to know where we're going, and then I'll be able to follow you. But I'm really dependent on myself. But anyway, that was me. That's safety for me. That was my definition. What's your definition, Takia?
Most definitely control. And let me say, well, first,
I'm
I
gonna
think
pause you, Takia, real quick.
yeah.
You guys, as we're talking, put your definition of safety in the chat too, so we can all be here together. So, Takia, what's your definition? I'm sorry.
I'm trying to see if I'm still up echoing. Okay, I don't think so. Okay, so control, right? So my definition of safety has most definitely changed. So let me say that God's currently working on it. But before all of that, I was safe when I was in control. I ain't have to be in front to be the leader. I can give you the show all day long, sweets. But as long as I orchestrated what that show was gonna be, I'm good. Okay. So you can be the face. I didn't care who was the face. But I needed to know all the details, and I had to be in control of the details. So most definitely control. And based on my ability to do, right? And then plan A, plan B, plan C, and making sure that all of everything was together. So if even to the point that I wasn't even comfortable if someone else was driving me. It took me a while even for me to be okay with my husband driving me, because it's like we drive two different ways, right? So I feel like the way he drives, somebody's gonna hit us because he drives too slow and all these other things. So just let me drive, because I'll be safe if I'm doing it, right? So as long as it was of my own hand, I was safe. That was my definition. But how about you? How you know the God has most definitely changed that and broke me all the way down? And it's been a wonderful process. We're going to talk about it. And from time to time, I still have to say, okay, I'm safe, and I'm not in control. But we're going to talk about it.
We are definitely gonna talk about it. I see on YouTube. Oh, see, somebody ain't resting, but that's all right. We happy to have you. We happy to have you. But we have Miss Brown says that safety to me has meant um to, let me see, to be able to place everything in its place. So if everything has a place, she's safe. If it ain't got a place, might be in trouble. What what's Facebook saying, Takia?
I muted myself. And she also said it had to be how much money was in her account. And I can 100% agree with that. Like, as long as I knew the exact amount, because I knew I wasn't going to go over that, like, that was like my last struggle, yielding to God, was my finances, like, for real. So yes, Miss Nitra is supposed to be resting, but we okay with that you're here, I guess, kind of, sort of, not. I agree. But we love you, right? We love you.
Do we have anybody else on the chat on Facebook that said anything
No,
else?
not as of yet.
Okay. All right. So we all have kind of said what our definitions were. Um, and I think, and it's really important to understand that. And I'm gonna talk about myself today, y'all, cause the good Lord, He got me all for real. So, but it's good, cause He got me right in love. He got me a little kiss on the cheek and set me up straight. Said, "Come on, boo boo, let's go." Um, so this definition is extremely important for you to understand where you are so that you can place yourself in these scriptures so that you can understand, get the full truth of it, because sometimes we go in with our definitions, um and then that's the perspective in which we see a thing, and then we don't get the full result. So we're gonna go right into this. And if you didn't know, safety, we're going to the scriptures of the poster child of safety, Psalms 91. This is the poster child of safety. But I guarantee you, this will be a different perspective, and this will give you some enlightenment so that you can really experience all that God has for you in this scripture. So, Takia, can you give us 1 and 2?
I sure will. Psalms 91. And y'all know this song. Y'all know it. Y'all gonna read it while in your bedroom, in your car, wherever you are listening. Gonna come on, read along with me. Psalms 91. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. How many times have we quoted that scripture over and over? And I read from the King James Version. Uh, it sounds good. It sounds so good, right? And it encourages us, and we're like, yeah. But then when we actually got to do it, we're like, amen. Okay, we're gonna process through this. Come on, Tammy.
All right. Hey, Sean. We love you.
Hey, Sean.
Okay, so I did like my good teacher told me. I got my Strong's Concordance and I did my word search. If y'all don't know how to use a Strong Concordance, Miss D Brown has put a wonderful little tutorial that's super easy for you to go through. Go to her YouTube page and you can find it. So I'm breaking down what the scriptures that Takia just told us mean. So he that sits down, that remains, that marries, that endures in the protection of the elevated Most High shall stay permanently, abstain from complaint or grudge under the shade and protection of the Almighty. That sounds pretty good, don't it?
Sounds
Sounds
good.
pretty good.
Hi, Jennifer.
I'm going to go on into and we're going to talk about it just a little bit more. So then, because we are able, well, let me talk about that real quick before I go any further. So that means that if I remain, if I endure, if I sit down and remain in this place, God will elevate my thinking to His inside of His protection, and He will give me that protection without complaint. So that means completely holy, because you only complain when you ain't getting what you thought you was gonna get, right? When there's a lack, then that's when you complain. That's when you have a grudge. That's when you have resentment. But when you get it complete and whole, you ain't got nothing to say because you full, right? So He's gonna give us that protection completely. When we sit and we remain in that protection, we will receive that protection in an elevated state away from our enemies. Okay, so then once we are in that place, we can say um, boldly with great latitude and confidence that the one true God is our shelter from danger and falsehood, and He is our protection from dangerous situations and um, the pursuit of predators. I lost my place. I got it though, y'all. I was getting
We was
excited.
waiting.
It says, My supreme God will I hurry to for refuge, confidently, carefree, and placing all of my confidence and hope in. So, when we understand that we are in this place, that we are resting in his protection, he is guaranteeing us that protection. We can stand boldly receiving his truth. So no lies. All lies will have protection from. All danger will have protection from, and we'll be confident and carefree living in this place. So that is what Psalms 91 is guaranteeing us. It is saying, this is what you have. This is what I want for you. This is my safety for you. So what do y'all think about that? What you think about that, Takia?
I think it sounds wonderful, but I really want to go, and it is wonderful, not just sounds. But I want to go back to remain, right? He that dwelleth. That is a hard thing to do as far as it relates to our will, right? Because God has all these blessings for us, and he has this plan for us, and he has his word over us. But one thing he will never take from us is our own will, our free will, right? And so oftentimes, in order to remain, it goes against everything that we know to be true. What we know to be true, not his truth, but what we know to be true, meaning our experiences, our upbringing, society, all the senses around us, our own emotions, right? However, how have you ever had the situation where it's like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, and in your head you're like, okay, I solved it, but God is like, no, be still. And it's like, what do you mean, no, be still? That's not what you meant. And you go about it anyway, right? In that time that you was like, and even though sometimes we don't really understand, oh, you really mean just be still and don't do anything, because we go according to what we know and what's right to us, we then are opposing his will, right? So getting to that place where we're able to dwell and we're able to remain, sometimes, not sometimes, it takes practice. The benefits are there, God's love is there, none of that's going to change. But if you ever find yourself saying, okay, God, I need to be here, and then you find yourself according to your own will, don't beat yourself up. Just say, okay, God, I'm doing this of my own timing. I'm doing this of my own hand. Now let me back up and see what you said. Let me back up and see where you are. Remaining there, dwelling with God there requires patience on our part, simply because we have the 1, 2, and 3, let's get it done. Let's get it done now. So a lot of times we have to just surrender that, right? And so again, everything that God said is there. Psalms 91, 1 and 2 is awesome, that whole thing, but it starts with he that remains, he that dwells. So it starts with us being in place of just saying, okay, God, I'm here. Help me. Like, help me. I'm trying not to move. Help me. My husband was in a situation today, and I was like, ooh, I want to go, just because anybody who knows me knows that, certain laws are just like my jam, right? And I was like, ooh, I haven't dug into North Carolina's law. Da-da-da. And God was like, I have it. And I was like, but he was like, I have it. I was like, oh, I was just ready. I was ready. Y'all know me, right? And so I had to sit, and I had to be okay, and I had to trust that God actually had the situation handled, which of course he did. So that dwelling part and that remaining part is so important, because when we do that, then we see the benefit of everything else. When we don't do that, then we say, well, God, you said this was supposed to happen. You said that was supposed to happen, and I'm not seeing the fruit of it. But we didn't do the first part. We didn't remain. We didn't dwell with him. We had a conversation, or we even prayed one way, didn't listen to his response, and we took off about our own, way of doing things. So I think when we are looking at the scripture, we have to remember that our role to play and our part to play is just simply to dwell, remain. One word, but requires so much. It requires a complete sacrifice of everything that we, quote unquote, know ourselves to be, right? I know that, like, right now I'm in a situation, not a situation, I'm in a state of being that I was like, okay, God, he came and he brought some deliverance and just took away everything I thought Takia was, right? Um, and I was like, okay, so now I need you to come and redefine some things for me. I need you, and I say redefine, and he said to bring you back to what I originally created you to be. And I said, okay, so bring me back to what you said, do a reset on me. So it's like in this time, I'm like, okay, I'm just Takia. I'm just here right now, and I'm just dwelling. I'm just being. Um, and every day, it looks different. It is different, but it's like constantly saying, okay, I'm here. And when I'm not there, be like, okay, yeah, I took that one. I said this is Takia's law, so forgive me. Let me go back and sit here and dwell with you. So as we're going through this scripture and everything, because I think, we know that Nietzsche's biggest thing is application, right? Our biggest thing has always been application. We can't just take it and say, ooh, that sounds good, and just run with it. We have to say, okay, what does that really look like? How do I really apply that so I can see the end result that God has promised me? All right? Okay, I'm done.
Absolutely, girl. You was on a roll. I said, wait a minute, she all in my notes. She all in my notes. Yes, it was beautiful. And so I wanted to give, Takia just gave the disclaimer, but I was going to give you the disclaimer today. This is not a word that you just kind of sit back and be like, oh, that was good. That was cool. I understand that, and walk away. This is something that you really have to sit and apply. And this is really for somebody that really wants to see change in their life. um I have been praying and asking God. I said, you know what, I don't like I want people to love God, right? Because I love God and I want them to see all the goodness that God is. But I don't want to bring somebody into my religion and they not get to see the fullness. And in order for them to be able to get to see the fullness, I need to know the fullness. I need to not have any doubts in my heart about what you're gonna do for me, and who you are to me. So I was like, look, it's me and it's you and it's me and it's you. You gotta show me this. Not my mama, not the pastor, not the prophet down the street. I want to hear from you who you are to me. And I want to see that. I want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. There's other parts in my life where I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God is real and He's there. But some parts in like my most inner parts, these parts way back down in here, I didn't really know Him there. And safety is my number one. I did not feel safe with God. I was not dwelling in the secret place. I was hollering at Him. Come over, kick it for a few hours, and then I'm out. I might even spend a night, but I'm getting up in the morning and I'm getting up on out of here. When it got too hot, when it got too tender for me, I was out. And I was doing that not even realizing, because my idea of safety was, one, that I had to be in control, and two, that I had to use my ability. And as you can see in the definition in 1 and 2, my ability and control, he's basically saying relinquish your control to me and rest, because this is what I'm doing this for you. Okay, that's foreign to me, because those things to me mean that I am absolutely going to have some kind of devastation. So every time he would bring that to me, devastation is right here. I'm going to lose in this situation. Am I willing to take one for the team, or am I going to fight? That's when he say that, that's what that means to me. So he started to take me in deeper into a revelation of what Psalms 91 is. And he say that we perish because of lack of knowledge. And so once we come into the true full knowledge of what God is saying and doing, then we can believe Him. Then we can stand in that. Then we're not fighting against the word. So let's get into it. So I broke down the rest of the scripture into two phases, kind of. The what we are being protected from and the how. So we're going to start with the what. So when you talk about the snare of the fowler and the noiseless pestilence, he's talking about challenges to our freedom and our identity. So if you think about, we're going to use an eagle. The Bible talks about the eagle a lot. But an eagle always flies high, right? They get to see that aerial view. They get to see the big picture. They they can't commune with everybody. They're not knowing what the scoop is, because they're not down with just everybody. They're up high, seeing that God's perspective is up high. His truth is up high. It is the truth, and it is set there. And then so this is what he wants us to see. He wants to see, and I wrote this down today, and I talked to my dad. Oh, hold on. You in this? I was. Oh yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay. I'm gonna get you some questions. I'm answering the questions. Come on, come on. Okay. All right, here we go. So I just wanted to say this little thing. This kind of gives us a God perspective. So when you are in the protection of God, then you see like God does. God is almighty, right? He already knows the end, the beginning, the middle. He created Satan. He created all of us. He has creation all within his hands. He's the creator, right? So he gets to see the full picture, the whole landscape of it all. And he wants to give you that same perspective. So this is my kind of understanding of what that God's perspective kind of looks like, that he loves us and he provides everything to us to make it everything for us to be able to make it to our expected end in abundance, joy, and peace. And he waits in expectation for the fulfillment of that. And he delights in our communion with him along that journey. And then his perspective towards Satan is he's defeated. And all he's doing is encouraging us to stand in our identity, because he can't do anything else to us, right? Because he's a defeated foe. So when we stay up here and we have that God-like perspective, then this is the way that we start to see situations. We're not so bothered by the things that come our way, because we understand this is what we have, right? But that's what he comes against. That's one of the things that we're protected from the snare of the fowler. We're also protected from disease and illness. When it talks about the terror by night, the error by day, the pestilence that walketh in darkness, the destruction that wasteth at noonday, it goes into these categories. So first, fear. And it is the reverence or awe for one's ability and advancements. And I thought that was very interesting, that that's the version of fear, the word that they use there. And I started to think about that, and I said, yeah, because when we have something that makes us afraid, and I'm just going to use a bill as an example. So you know that you have a bill due and you don't have the money for that. Fear sets in and you say, oh yeah, because if I don't pay this bill, they gonna put me out. And if I don't pay this bill, then my credit gonna go bad. And if I don't pay this bill, da 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 da. You're now listing all the ability and all the achievements that not paying this bill can do. And you make those big and you make those great, because you thinking about them, you meditating on them, you worried about it, you making that so big, you're giving all your reverence and respect and honor to that bill. And that's how fear is produced, and it grows. And it can become terror, paralyzing and enslaving. So now you're not only just worried about that happening, but now you're starting to do stuff outside of your character to stop that from happening. So now you might be making bad decisions. Maybe I'll go rob so and so and such. You have these ideas. Or you just are paralyzed and you can't speak the word, you can't do nothing, you just petrified with fear. Excuse me. Then we have those piercing thoughts and suggestions that cause us to reject God's truth. So those thoughts that are constantly coming in all day long, you have those thoughts. God says that you have everything that pertains to life and godliness. Here comes this thought. Nope, you got a bill due. That can't be true, because you got a bill due. He ain't put no money in your pocket today. Your bill is due tomorrow. You got a bill due. I don't know if that's true. God ain't gonna protect you right here. That's those piercing thoughts that just come, and sometimes they come so strong that they'll stop us. They'll be like, "Ooh, it's like it put terror in you, like real quick. It makes you forget what you're doing." Those thoughts can be very piercing. Then we also have continual harassment that challenges the truth, bringing spiritual unreceptiveness, affecting discernment and ability to hear God clearly, causing calamity. So basically, That's those thoughts coming to harass you over and over and over and over, so much that they create this static, and you no longer can distinguish God's voice from that thing. You can no longer, sit in peace with God. You now are like sitting, and you sometimes you might pray. You know how you have those times where you sit and pray and be like, man, I'm praying and God ain't saying nothing. He ain't saying nothing. He just left me right here. I don't understand why he won't say, why he won't tell me what to do, why he ain't here with me. He is here with you. You're being stolen from right here. Okay. And then also the devastation and ruin. I thought this one was like kind of mind blowing to me. The destruction that wasteth away at noonday is ruin that happens during the perfect blessing. And so we are now, when you become a believer, you are sitting in the blessing of Abraham. And when you sit in that blessing of Abraham, that means that you have safety, protection, health, and provision every day. That is your heritage. That is what you are supposed to be in every single day, right? That's the perfect blessing. We have everything that we need, everything that pertains to life and godliness every day. Well, devastation and ruin coming. It seemed like every time you get $1, you got to pay 10. Like all this, every time, you get your leg up, you like, yes, I got the promotion, and now my car done messed up. So now I got to pay extra money to get to work. I got to Uber to work every day. I ain't got no money still. It's like stuff just keeps coming and just robs you of your blessing that God has given you. That's that thing that we protected when we sit when we sit in God. Okay, got a protection plan for that. Okay, and so then the last section that I'm going to talk about is the treading up on the lions, the adder, and the young lion, and the young and the dragon. And so this is fear as well. So well, yeah, I'll keep going. Okay, so um, I'm gonna pause before I go into that because I really want us to be able to grasp this. I just said a whole lot. Y'all, I am so excited. If y'all can't tell, God has been, he gave me this a few months ago, and I've just kind of been eating it, and it's blowing up and blowing up and blowing up, and I'm seeing it. Like, I'm like, boy, that was same. Wait a minute. No, I'm protected from that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. And it's just, I am seeing this like really come to life, how it affects my entire life and how I interact with this world, how I interact with other people, and how I interact with God. Because a lot of times I was thinking, he's not helping me. He's not here. He's leaving me to figure this part out on my own. And when I figure it out, then I can come to him and he'll be happy with me again. That is not true. You see, just in these two parts that I talked about, how Satan is every day trying to come and attack us and to keep us away from what God has for us. So, like, get in the chat. What do y'all think about that? Taki, I'm gonna give you some time. Tell me what you think about that, girl.
Yeah, that was a whole lot. Okay, Echo. I was thinking about, well, a few things, but the piercing thoughts, right? Give an example. I went through some things, right? And I had this thought that came, and it was like, you don't even like them. You don't even feel this way. Blah, 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 blah. It's just all these negative things. And for a second, I was like, yeah. And I was like, no, that's not my thoughts. That's not how I feel, right? So being able to catch that, to see that, and a lot of times we will, because it's a thought, and it may have been true in the past, right? But because of where we are now, it's no longer true. Once God has brought deliverance to that place, as you're yielding that thing to God, those feelings and those things shouldn't be the case anymore, right? So when those piercing thoughts come up, that's kind of like how you catch it. It's like, wait a minute, I don't feel that way. That's not my thought, right? And then you're able to say, oh, that's not my thought, and then it just goes away. We're working with that with our children now. This is like, okay, is that how you really feel about it? And they're like, no, not really. Okay, right? So sometimes we have to just say, okay, is that how I really feel about it before we go off on whatever tangent we're about to run off on. Because that's there to steal our peace, right? It's there to steal our joy, especially if you're having a good day and whatever it is, and then all of a sudden there's something. And then even sometimes when there is something, like we just had to get a new car, and God told me that my car was about to go. He told us Now, mind you, I've had my car since 2015. I had over 220,000 miles on that car. Like, but I love that little car. Love that car. But he had told us that, it was time to transition and all that. And I was like, okay, okay. And then when it actually happened, I was like, God, why did you let the car hold on? And, all this other stuff. Silly. Car was like, look, I'm done, chick. Let me go. Um, but then I started to complain. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. God's prepared me for this. So everything that he said is going to happen is going to happen. And this is a blessing. This is a blessing that I'm having to get another car, because my car, it was just time. And not only did I get another car, I got the car I wanted, right? And so it was a blessing. And so sometimes when it's time for God to bless us in an area, look to see what God said about the situation, because every time something's coming up, God talks to us about it. He tells us, he prepares us. So when that thing comes and opposes whatever that is, catch that. Again, we may not catch it right away, right? I was like, I had my little pity party for about 30 seconds. I did cry when, I said bye. That's just what I do. But I rejoiced after that, right? And then it was the fear. I haven't had a car payment, only God knows how long, right? So it was like, okay, now what is this car payment about to look like? What is this insurance is about to look like? Like, oh my goodness, all of these things. And so then fears tried to creep in, and I was like, okay, no, because God, you said that we were getting a new car. God, you said I would get the car I want. So if you gave all of these provisions and you told me this, then you've provided for it already. So it's just speaking back to whatever it is that's opposing the blessing that God has. It's speaking back to whatever it is that's opposing the peace and you dwelling on where you're supposed to be. Does that make sense? So she said a whole bunch. And then harassments from hearing the truth. That was another thing. It's like we have to really hold on to what God has said. Sometimes we have to write it down so we can come back and, bounce back on it, right? And be like, okay, on January 5th, 2024, God said this, I heard this, whatever it is, so that you have something to come back on. Because when God's telling you something, he's telling you something to prepare you. He's telling you something to let you know that something else is going on. He's constantly telling you, whether it's for you, whether it's for the next person, whether it's for the earth, whatever it's for, right? So we have to remember that he's already letting us know. So those alternative truths that are constantly coming, they're just that. They're lies. That's it. There can only be one truth. I don't care what nobody says. When it comes to God, there can only be one truth, and the only truth is his. Anything else is an alternative lie, right? It's a harassment trying to get you to, it's harassing you from hearing the truth, right? So again, just making it real practical on like, okay, how do I apply this? What do I do here? What do I do there? And I love what she said is, it's a ruin against the perfect blessing. God doesn't halfway bless us in anything. He's a complete God. He cares about us holistically. So not just our health, not just our well-being, not just our finances. It's like everything concerning us, our children, our spouses, our family members, our jobs, like everything concerning us is supposed to be blessed. So if there is not, if you're not seeing the perfect blessing, which is the promise of God, then it's like, okay, what do I need to go back and see? All right, where have I not yielded? Well, just call and just talk to God. Like, okay, God, I'm here. Where are you? Temperature check, what's going on, right? And then one thing that I know that I always say when the devil comes up and he starts, fighting different ways, I'm like, oh, thank you for the progress report. Because if you're hitting me this hard here, that means I'm on the right path, right? So look at things in a different perspective. Don't always just be taken out by the thoughts. Don't always just be taken out by the situation. You have authority over that. Use the authority. You have the promises of God over that. Stand on your promises, right? So yeah, this is good. All right, giving it to you, Tim.
So, and I just wanted to give a practical about those the truth, harassing thoughts that kind of deter the truth. Um, this is how it is. It was this was funny, y'all. So as I was going into this, he gave me this visual aid, real life situation. So my husband and I went on a trip, and before the trip, God said, "You're gonna have this is gonna be the best trip ever." And I was like, "Okay." And I almost canceled the trip prior to him saying that because I'm like, it was a lot going on. I was like, we probably shouldn't go. So he was like, "This is gonna be the best trip ever. Get excited." So I was like, Okay. So, I mean, he said it for like 3 days straight before we went. So I was like, okay, I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited. This is going to be the best trip ever. So by the time we go to get the trip, um, something happened to our account and we could not use the account in our, we could not use the money in our account, either one of us. So we had to go with a credit card. So we went on the trip. And guess what? That credit card vendor, they did not use them. Nobody, nowhere. And that was the only money that we had, right? So the lady was like, I don't know how you guys have been paying for stuff because we don't even use this type of credit card vendor. Like nowhere because we were going out of the, it was out of the country. Or yeah. And so they were like, I don't know how y'all pay, and we paid for everything. Everything was being paid for. We went here, we did that, did this, did that, and we used the credit card. It was fine. Everything was fine. And she said, yeah, we don't, no vendors use, none of us use this credit card. So I don't know how you've been paying your stuff. And we was like, this is our form of money that we got. So number one, that was our first blessing. Second, we go, we were going on a boat ride, and this was like the highlight of the whole trip. So I had paid for this VIP experience, and we got all this extra stuff, and it was supposed to be this whole long day of stuff. We wake up, now it's beautiful. Every day we're there. The day we have this trip, this excursion, it's pouring. I mean, pouring down rain. And I woke up and I was like, man, are you kidding me? Like, how's it gonna rain today of all days? Like, I was just so mad. And it was like, you're gonna have a wonderful trip. This is not a wonderful trip. Who wants to be out in the rain? And we had to walk. It was like a walking excursion. There was a lot of walking. Who wants to walk in the rain? Not me. No, I had my hair done. I was cute for my man. Like, no, I don't want to be walking around. I'm like, this is not fun. I don't want to be here. No. And so I told my husband, I'm like, I don't want to go. He like, girl, we paid for this. We going. So we go. And it's raining. It's pouring down rain. They gave us little ponchos. So we walking and we doing it. And we missed, they sit us in the wrong lane. So we missed our VIP experience. We were supposed to come in a certain way, and we get to miss the line and all that. Nope, put us in the line. We was in the back of the line. Had to wait with all the people. And I'm like, man, when I figured it out, man. And he said, this is gonna be the most amazing trip. But during that time, me and my husband just joked and laughed. We just hung out with one another during that time. So it was a good time, right? So we get on the boat, we're doing our excursion, and then it like monsoons. So we literally are walking in this, the water was this deep. So our shoes are completely drenched, like everything is. And I am hotter than a hot, I don't know, jalapeno. I was hot. I'm like, oh, this is not the best trip ever. Um, and so my husband just cracked a joke and we just bust out laughing in the middle of the rain. And we're just having, like, it was just so fun. And then I was like, oh, I get it now. It's about perspective. All of these times I had an idea of how I wanted all of this to go. I had planned everything out. I had put all this stuff, time and effort and money and energy into what I wanted this to look like. But God gave me exactly what I needed. Just some fun. Me and my husband just being kids. We played in the rain. Like it was just, we were just we just had a good time. And that's what he needed. That's what I needed. We had a lot going on. This was just a good time for us to just and love on one another and have a good time. It was one of the best trips that we've ever had together. And so understanding like these piercing thoughts, these harassing ideas come to give us, I know Nietzsche talked about deception and fantasy and delusion. These thoughts help to cultivate that fantasy, that deception, that um, delusion, so that we are always thinking that we don't have. We are always seeing lack in the midst of abundance of grace, in the midst of abundance of everything, of provision that we need. But we don't see that provision. We don't see those things because we're focused on this fantasy, this idea, this perspective that's just this little. Like you see, I can't see my eyes. That's how small my perspective is. I'm not seeing anything about what is possible for me. what God has planned for me, because I have this little bitty idea, and it's so little that I can't even move around it, and it's just right there in my focus. So I wanted to give you guys that. Go ahead.
I want to jump on the chat real quick. Roger over here at on YouTube said fear is false information to the ear. I love that. False information to the ear, fear. And D Brown, I'm going to write this down today, is the 5th of February, 2024 at 7:45. She put it in the chat a few minutes before, but it's still good. And she put it in YouTube too. God said, mark the season, mark the time, mark the date. Put it on your calendar. When God does a thing for you during this season, you will need it as a reminder later. So we're all going to do that. And we're going to hold God to his word. On February 5th, 2024, God, you said. And so I started doing, and then we're going to just see the glory of the Lord. Yes? I'm excited about it. Are you excited? I'm excited. Excited about it. And as Tammy's preparing, she was talking about a trip. We went to Texas, me and my husband. And when I left, God said, grab your ID. And I said, I already have my ID. It's in my purse. So I didn't check. I already have my ID. And I went. So we get to the airport, pull out my ticket and everything. Who doesn't have an ID? Not one. Not an iota of an ID. So I said, oh, Jesus, you told me, get my ID. I'm sorry. I repent. My husband was like, well, what are you going to do? And God said, I have you. I said, okay. So my husband was like, are we going to have to cancel? What are we going to do? I said, no, God said he has me. So we're getting on the flight. And he was like, how are we about to get on this flight? I don't know. Let's just go. So we proceed through the line. And the line was really long. And it was like, just keep walking. So we walked. And then TSA called us out. And Curry was like, here we go. We ain't going. And I was like, God said we have them. So we went in there. And yeah, no questions asked. Going to Texas and coming back. I didn't have ID. And both times, got called out by TSA. They checked everything, and it was like, hey, put them through the front. Put them here, put them there. Like celebrity status. Not one time was my ID checked. Not one time were we stopped. And not one time was I worried. Not one time. I walked through there with the confidence that God said he had me. So I'm not going to be rejected. I'm not going to be turned down, and we're not about to cancel this trip, right? So when you have the promises, just like Tammy was just saying on her trip, God said, this is going to be the best trip ever. Have that confidence. Have it. Like, enjoy that experience. And even if it is a perspective change, like Tammy said, she had to say, oh, this is a different, perspective change. Sometimes it's going to take that, but enjoy it. Be like, okay, God, this is what you said. It's actually happening, right? When he says a thing, just be confident in that thing. Even if, sometimes it's like you got to get back to it. But once you're there, stand on it. When you see that it was stolen from you, be like, okay, Satan, you owe me that. You owe me that back, right? Owe me that back tenfold. Give it back to me. Sevenfold. Give it back. And continue to stand on what God said. Continue to just stand in there. Love that place that you're in. Love the now. Love the now. She stated that there was going to be, I'm going back to what Nitra's statement was. When God does a thing for you during the season, you're going to need to remember it later. You're going to need the reminder later. So you know that there's going to be a journey. Enjoy and embrace the journey that God's about to take you on. It's okay. It really is okay. And at that time that God is growing you, right? It may not feel okay. It may hurt a little because it may, he may have to, I don't want to say take some things, but readjust some things. Take some things. Let's just
take some things.
Take some things. I'm sorry, y'all.
Because they wasn't yours in the first place. They ain't belong to you. So
exactly. So you're gonna take some things from you, but it's okay, right? Because it's to give you his desire for you, his heart for you. So go ahead, grieve it if you need to grieve it, but sweetie, let that thing go, right? Run from it and enjoy the process. Embrace where you are, embrace the journey that you're going to be on, and know that every step of the way, God is going to be there with you. He's going to be there to have your conversation when you say, okay, God, I'm just not feeling it today. He's going to be there with you. He's going to be there with you when you need to cry. He's going to be there with you when you're in your emotions. All of it is okay. And all of it is a part of the process. So don't try to hide. Don't try to put on a good show for anybody. You know, I used to be the one that was hiding behind all the masks. And then once God delivered me, I'm like, look, it is what it is at this point, right? So go ahead and embrace that. I am excited about the word that God has spoken, and I know that we're going to see the fruit. I know that no matter what happens, by this time next year, we're not going to be there. Not just because we got a year older, right? But because we were able to see the promises of God, and not just by happenstance, because we're going to write them down. We're going to track it, right? We're going to see, okay, this is what God said, and this is where I was. And by the time this happened, this is where I've grown to, right? Because there's always growth. So let's go. Part two. I'm sorry.
Yes, no, but good. So I want to give you guys how God protects us here. Takia kind of preluded this. But when he talks about his feathers and his wings, this is the part that is so important. So we saw like how and I might have to do a part two because I want to leave you with this part. There's other things that he protects us from, but this is kind of where I want to end out. Excuse me. About how we endure, how we sit in the protection of God, what that looks like. Because you say, okay, like I was saying, okay, God, I was reading the scripture, I kind of looked through it, and sometime it worked and sometime it didn't. Like, I don't know why, I'm getting this mismatch. Where am I missing that it's happening? And so this is what he provides for us, and then that allows us to be able to get it every single time. So that, because that missing it is that spending the night and then checking out in the morning. I'm about to go handle this right here. Understanding we're able to kind of sit and allow him to do this work in us, because the word does the work. So if we're trying to do this in our own might, we're never going to get the fullness. We'll look like that fig tree that he cursed, because we're going to have all the leaves. We're going to look like we got fruit, but we won't have any fruit because it won't be within our heart. We won't have given God these real places within us. So this is what it looks like. His feathers and his wings. This is a motherly and a fatherly protection that provides us with provision, discipline, care, love, nurture, and healing. It's a childlike provision, with a guardianship relationship. So child and guardianship relationship. So how this works is God gives us the truth that is sure and reliable, and we take that truth in. We see that truth is true and reliable, then we can trust God and we can confide in him. And the more that we confide in him, the more truth he continues to show us. Then we're able to grasp that truth, and then we're able to trust him. And he gives us truth, and we try that truth, and then that truth becomes true to us, and we now trust that. And it just keeps going back and forth. More truth, more trust. More truth, more trust. More truth, more trust. And then that relationship that we have with God, in that truth and that trust coming, we can be more transparent. We can become more confident in who he is. We know that he's going to be our help. So we're going to run to him, not looking for any other solution, but the only solution that he gives us. And that will to be able to shield in that buckler that'll protect us from our mind going crazy, all of those thoughts and things that are in our mind, and then also from the situations and calamity that happen. So that is the process of enduring, is sitting there and working that truth, right? So I'm not saying that this is not, we like to glamorize things in Christ, and we say, okay, this is the truth, you do it, and then you're going to be a perfect little Christian. That ain't the way it works. This truth, we have to come in communion with this truth, in relationship, in fellowship with this truth. We got to sit with this truth, just like I did on my trip. At first, I'm like, this is not the best trip ever. This is not. Do you see that I'm wet? Do you see that my hair is not like it was? Like, this is not what I want to do. This is not how it looks. But he kept saying that this is the best trip ever. So then I said, okay, let me change my perspective. Let me take this as truth. It don't feel like truth. It don't look like truth. I ain't even experiencing it as truth. But I'm gonna step out here on a limb and say, okay, I'm gonna let this be my truth. And as soon as I did that, then I was like, oh, this could be true. Now I was still wet, and even started raining a little bit more. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna work this a little bit. Okay, let me see if this will be true. Can I find this being the best trip ever in this moment? And as I started to sit there and I said, well, God, show me what this best trip ever is supposed to look like to me. And then he said, look, look at your husband laughing. Your husband is stressed out. That's why y'all went on the trip. He ain't stressed no more. You did what you wanted to do. You wanted to give your husband a good time. Look. I said, oh, this is the best trip ever. Okay. All right. Well, we got to do this together. Okay. I'm be happy. And the more that I did that, circumstances were coming. But then I said, okay, now I'm not even going to see that circumstance as a circumstance. I'm going to say this is the best trip ever. And I know that it's going to work. And so I worked that truth. That didn't just pop in and I said, hey, and I took it and I owned it. It took a process. We were there for 5 days. It took the whole 5 days for me to come to this understanding and be like, yes, this is the best trip ever. It was a working. It was working in me. This was creating this relationship. He was giving me this truth, and I was testing this truth in my situation, taking this truth and saying, okay, let me try it to be true. Okay, let me try it to be true. And then it was true. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try it again. Let me try it to be true. And it worked again. Okay, well, God, now I can sit and talk with you a little bit. I can tell you now how I feel about this over here. And that relationship starts to build. That truth starts to become life in us. And then we can have that trust in God. And that causes us to remain. Okay? That's how we endure in that protection. Because what he is doing with those feathers, so in me, y'all told y'all my idea was protection was that I was in control and that my ability could fix things. Well, I can't fix the rain. My ability was not working for me in that situation. So I felt unsafe. I felt like I didn't have what I needed. But his healing came and said, baby, I got you. I got you. You're okay, whether it's raining or not. And look, your hair is cute. Your hair is natural and it worked right on out and it still look good. And your husband looking at you with the double eye. So you all right. You all right. I'm working it out for your good. So it's like he started to put his arms of protection around me. He started to bring those wings in. That provides some healing for me because it just changed my perspective on how I see myself, how my husband sees me. It just really kind of helped me in this situation. Not only was I having the best trip ever, but he was ministering to my heart. And so that's what he does because he's bringing that healing. He's bringing that nurture. He's saying, okay, trust me with this little bit because I'm healing this place in you. I am exchanging that pain and that hurt for my provision and my love. I am exchanging that hurt and that pain for your confidence. I'm giving you confidence and hope and strength in me. And then I'm giving you discipline so that you can know how to maintain this healing so you don't find yourself back in this place. I'm filling you in with me and then I'm showing you how to stay here with me. So that's what those wings and those pinions, that's what that means. He's showing us how to be who we are. So I hope that you have gotten something out of today because this is what we need. Oftentimes, we're learning things about God and we're coming into the fullness of who he is, but our safety is causing us to go another way. And so I hope now that you can see safety in a different perspective, that you can hold on to some of these things, that you can look back and see when your identity is being challenged, when you are no longer looking at a God perspective, you're seeing right now this bill versus seeing that God has given you everything that pertains to life and godliness, that you're seeing, oh, these people hate me and I don't have no friends, that you are accepted in the beloved and your gift makes room for you and doors will be open for you. Like all of these things, we have to see this truth and let that be our covering. Let that be our perspective. Let that be the way that we see. And we do all of that dwelling with God, being in communion with him, sitting under his protection. So I love y'all.
Love
I
you.
hope y'all got something out of that.
So, hope we did you proud, Nitra.
So I love you guys. I'm so excited. Thank you, Nisha, for giving us the opportunity to come and love on your people. Love on our people. We love you
We miss
all.
you.
Yes, yes, yes. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. You got anything to say, Takia?
This also applies to your children. Also applies to your children. And I'm gonna give this testimony in about 60 seconds. God had given me some promises concerning my children. And when it comes to my children, if anybody knows me, that is my center, right? I'm a mama, anybody's mama, right? And so he had given me some promises concerning my children, and I was like, okay, these promises I can't do by my own hand. You're gonna have to do these promises. And when I say that I've given my children over to God, I've really given them over to God, and I'm like, okay, God, however you see fit to bring it to pass, bring it to pass. We conversate and do whatever we need to. Yeah, when I say these babies and they God, he is doing it. He is doing it, and he's doing it according to where they are. Nothing that I could have done. Nothing. Zero zilch nada. Nada, right? He's building his own relationship with them both individually, and it's just wonderful. So again, when God says a thing, I guarantee you, he's going to bring it to pass. That's concerning you, that's concerning your babies, all the way around, right? So just give it to him. Just go ahead and allow him to do it because he knows how to do it best anyway. All right. Love y'all. Bye bye.